This week, we're diving deep into potentiometers, or pots. That's not what I mean, and you know it. This is a family show, so stop it. 100K, 250K, 500K, 1 meg, it sounds like coding jargon. But what does it really mean? Stick with me for the next few minutes. At the end of that, you're gonna know. Let's get nerdy. Pots play a really important role whenever it comes to the shaping of the sound of your electric guitar, particularly in a passive circuit like we have in most guitars. Essentially what they are is a variable resistor, and what those allow us to do is control volume and tone. But did you ever really stop to think, what's going on in there? I mean, how does the thing actually work? Well, let's look. Let's have a look at what's going on inside of a pot. Now here's one that I used in our soldering demo. So I had a volume control soldered up here. I had mentioned the pin out in a video a couple of weeks ago on pots, and I numbered them incorrectly, and man, did I catch flack for it. As we're looking at the pot like this, the one that we usually ground and bend over or make a jumper wire to the case of the pot, that is pin 1, 2 is in the middle, and then 3 out here on the end. Also in the soldering one, we talked about the casing, but we need to take this casing off so that we can see what's happening on the inside. To do that, see these little tabs right here? All we have to do is just bend those back with a little screwdriver. And so if we look inside of the pot here, and we have our terminals 1, 2, and 3. If you look here, you can see this black material that connects terminal 1 to terminal 3. That is the resistor part. For our purpose here in the guitar, typically it's going to be a carbon-based resistive material. Terminal 2 is the one that's connected to the pot shaft here. So when we spin, right here on the pot, we've got this little wiper guy, and that little wiper dude is actually touching that resistive material. That is what creates the variable side of the variable resistor. Resistance is measured in ohms. So if you have a multimeter, set your multimeter to ohms. Technically, we're measuring in thousands of ohms. That's what the K stands for. So if I need to measure this pot to determine exactly what the value is, I need to measure between lugs 1 and 3. When I do that with a 250K pot, you can see here I get 271.3. Now, most pots are going to be within tolerance of plus or minus 10%. Well, 10% of 250K is 25, so we're at 271. 10% over 250 would be 275, so we're well within tolerance here. When you see pots that are advertised at like 525 or 530 to be, to have a little bit more resistance, you would probably not be able to hear that tiny amount of resistance added within your passive guitar circuit. You might hear it in your bedroom, but you're definitely not going to hear it once your drummer starts playing. So pots come in 2 different types. There's linear, which we're going to look at here, right? So linear is a very direct path, meaning that as we turn the knob up, we increase resistance. But that curve, when we do that, it's pretty much a straight line. So that, when we get 50% of the way in the rotation of the pot, we're going to be, if it's a 500K pot, we're going to end up at 250K right here in the middle. The other type of pot you'll see is going to be the logarithmic, or you'll also hear it referred to as an audio pot. And an audio pot is what we will see a lot in a passive electric guitar circuit. The difference being is that the log pot doesn't do this straight line up. It usually has a curve to it. Here's why. The log pot was developed because the ear doesn't hear like this in a straight line. So whenever we have the guitar all the way up and we back the volume off just a hair, just to kind of clean it up a little bit, all we're trying to do is just knock it down a little. If I needed to do that with a log pot, I couldn't come back very far at all before it gave me a decent enough decrease. But I can back it off 2 or 3 clicks here before it actually gets me where I need to be. And then the rest of it down here is a little bit nicer to play with. It feels better under your hand, it sounds better to your ear. Does that mean that you can't use a linear for a volume pot? Absolutely not. You can use either one. This is cool because this is up to you. You can try either one and decide which one works better for you. So remember earlier we talked about 250K, we talked about 500K, 1 meg, and sometimes 100K. Well, what does that mean? Traditionally, we use 250K pots for single coil pickups, and we'll use 500K pots for humbuckers. 1 megs and 100Ks, we see those in special instances. But why? As we increase resistance, what it will do is allow more high frequency to pass. And an easier way to say it is the more resistance, the brighter your tone's going to be. I drew kind of a goofy looking bucket here to sort of illustrate this. Think of this as a pot. Our signal is kind of like the water that goes in, the valve. That's our knob. That's going to allow that signal to pass out. Well, this here, that's sort of our resistance level. So with this guy, we'll call it 500K. So as we pour in signal, anything that is above this line, meaning low frequencies, high frequencies, anything that's above this line is going to pour out onto the ground. We still have signal coming out here, but any of that super high frequency, once it gets to 500K, is just going to bleed off to ground. So now we have a 250K pot. Notice that our high frequency has lowered. So anything that's higher than this is going to get bled off to ground. So the reason that we end up using 250K pots for single coils with their magnets right underneath the strings are very, very bright. So we want to tame some of that. So we usually will put a 250K pot in. Humbuckers are considerably darker than a single coil, so we want to let more high frequency pass. That's why we use a 500K traditionally. You can use any pot for volume or tone. Your best bet is to experiment. Remember we did the video on soldering, so you know how to solder already, or at least you should. If you don't, go watch it again. Learn how to solder. Get a few pots. Get 250K, 500K, 1 meg, and 100K. Get all of those values in audio and in linear. Swap out some stuff. See which one works for you. This is really about your ear and the way the guitar feels whenever you're using these. You could stumble upon something that works way, way better for you than you ever thought possible in your particular guitar. Don't be scared of doing this. Like I said before in the soldering video, what's the worst you're gonna do? Screw up? Who cares? Email me, message me, comment down below. You know, like down there. I never know what do you call that down there? That's easier, I guess. So there you go. That's the secret to potentiometers in electric guitars. Now, it's understanding how they work and choosing the right type for your guitar and for your own ear. It can really help to make the sound of your guitar that much better. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out so much, you guys don't even know. Thank you so much for watching this week. If you guys have had any experience with, like, bad pots, or a volume pot stopping working, or something coming disconnected, or anything like that, or even just trying to figure out how to wire in a new one or choose one, comment in the down there. Please go back and check out the other videos as well, because I would really love to hear from you about any of those topics back there. Next week, I'm really going to ruffle some feathers because we are going to look at capacitors. Y'all don't know. The comment section is going to be a blast. I'll see you guys next week.